I joined the army in 1987. Something triggered me that I should join the armed forces.
I think Madras Sappers established in 1780 is what we see here in Bangalore.
Actually,
200 plus.
Yeah. They formed the initial Madras Sappers. Earlier they were called Sappers and Miners. Then they were called Queen Victoria's own Madras Sappers and Miners. And finally Corps of Engineers. It's a long history. So they were involved in almost all the wars fought by Britishers.
I'm an electrical engineer. Agla Jaram sir, para engineers ke naam.
Yeah, certainly. It was wonderful.
Initial railway tracks also built by.
See, what Britishers did, they needed a trained force. Britishers coming to South India, the earlier warring Rajas and all were not holding that much of forces. So there was so much of talent available. They recruited all this talent. Whether it is Nilgiri Railways, it was done by Sappers only.
I believe General Manoj Pandey is an engineer also.
Yes, General Manoj Pandey is the first Sapper officer. You know, the Wayanad, recently that landslide in Wayanad, the bridging effort and rest of the efforts were done by Corps of Engineers. So Subedar Subramanian was actually operating in Italy at that time during that war, and they were breaching a minefield. His party. This Bangalore Torpedo was put in use in all the wars of World War I and II.
Okay guys, so welcome to this another episode of Roger That with NKC. Indian Army is not just the infantry, I would say, or Indian Army has quite a lot of few branches, arms and services, which are very, very important for other armed services to help them and to aid them in completing their job, completing the tasks that are assigned to them, to meet the organizational goals and objectives. So one such arm, very important, which also has inherent regimentation system within it, is Corps of Engineers. And today I am sitting with Colonel SATISH Reddy, 6th Engineer Regiment, Madras Sappers. Welcome to the set, sir.
Thank you, Nikhil. Wonderful being here. Nice setup.
Nice setup?
Yeah.
Does it
very
take
inspiring,
you?
Actually.
Oh, thank you so much. So does it take you back to some memories?
Something like back to my commission days. Always enamored with such insignia, etc.
Okay. So, sir, first of all, thank you so much for accepting my invitation that you came here.
My pleasure.
It's going to be very special because, like we know that this episode is being released on 18th of November, that is the Corps of Engineers Day. So, all the more very, very special that this episode shooting with you is very special for us. Plus, Bangalore is home to Madras Sappers, and that is your arm, that's your unit. So, let's start with basic thing. When did you get commissioned, and why did you want to join the army? What are your educational qualifications? And please.
I joined the army in 1987. I made precisely on 23rd July 1987. After doing my master's of technology from IIT Kanpur. In fact, I did my engineering earlier, 81 to 85 from JNTU Anantapur, and then masters, and then I joined the army. So that's how it was. I hail from a place called Nellore in Andhra Pradesh, basically from agricultural family, and we are the first generation to study. So that led me to engineering and then to masters. I was interested in research, but somehow while doing masters, I was something triggered me that I should join the armed forces, and I thought that life will suit my particular personality because I was always into sports and such outdoor activities. So that led me to apply for SSB, and I cleared it without much ado. And immediately after completing my MTech, I joined IMA, Dehradun, and then there is no looking back.
Sir, those days it was direct entry without any written examination, university entry scheme?
No, it was a technical graduate course.
TGC?
Yeah.
Okay.
I joined 65 technical graduate course.
65th course, TGC. Wonderful. I remember appearing for SSB 20 UES, and I still remember that my All India rank, electrical engineering branch, All India rank was 1.
Great.
So, but I don't know, somehow I ended up in the Navy. Top Gun spoiled my life. Sir, why do we need engineers in the army?
Yeah, it's a very good question. People think that it's only people with rifles and nothing else is required other than sort of macho power. But if you see the history of warfare, it's always wherever there is a war, there is always some construction activity, some destruction activity, etc. happening. That is what is warfare. Somebody wants to destruct some creation. So in the very beginning, whether it is Mahabharata, Ramayana, all these things, you have some creation happening. Like let us say example of Ram Setu, it's an engineering feat. Similarly, you'll have several other activities which can be said that they are all engineering feats. Similarly, in Mahabharata, there are a number of examples of creation. Let us say it's Maya Sabha, or even the weaponry, or what has been described. So it is something like engineering activities are always there. Whether you call that particular, those days they were not called engineers, maybe Vastu Shilpis or some such thing. But they are basically, the present day engineering is all reflected in these warfares. So as the human race started warring with each other, so this also led to the development of many activities which require specialist people to do. Like construction of forts is a very specialist thing. Creating creating other assets which are in the way of the enemy, and trying to distract them while they are crossing them, like the moats around the fort, is an engineering activity. Like that, engineers are always there during warfare in one form or the other. That continues till this day. Even let us take the latest example of Israel and Hamas warfare. Hamas has created several underground assets, and now Israel is destroying them. So these are all engineering efforts. Similarly, Ukraine, you find several such, Ukraine-Russia warfare also, you find several such activities happening, which are engineer-specific.
So, sir, what is this pioneer company? Because everything started with the movement of guns, right? Like we had artillery and firepower.
Yeah, to some extent. It's something like the need of some specialist people who used to aid the people who were fighting was always there. So Britishers in somewhere 1750s started pioneer companies. These pioneers were recruited locally. They were good at such construction activities, or always used to help the main attacking force. So these pioneer companies were few in number. Let us say fighting force of 5,000, 10,000 was there. Maybe 200-300 such people were recruited. So these pioneer companies later on, they transformed into what is called as sappers, then sappers and miners, and finally engineers. So while the pioneer corps per se is existing even today, the engineers, earlier so-called miners and sappers, present-day engineers, have found their way, their own, they chalked out their own purpose in the battlefield. Like pioneers as on today do mostly activities to help the headquarters or various headquarters in unloading, loading of equipment, etc. Because they are a trained war force to help headquarters in several lessons. There are several pioneer companies assisting in the war effort even today. But engineers are different. They are at a higher level. They have various other tasks to do, and they are a specialist force to that extent.
Such as mobility and sustainability.
Yeah, such as basically, if you see what is the main role of engineers, is enhancing own mobility and sustainability while degrading the mobility of the enemy and degrading the sustainability of the enemy. What I mean by this enhancing of mobility is that when we are attacking, let us say, when we are moving ahead, the armed forces are moving ahead, you will not be always having roads and such things. You will have to make tracks, you will have to make roads, then you will have to make bridges, you will have to breach obstacles. This is what is called enhancement of mobility. So the engineers move in first, make all these expedients and activities to help the main force move in. That is why we are called first in. But again, in the corollary, when you come back or when you're sort of defending also, these activities are done by defending activities like minefields, wire obstacles again in front of our defended localities are done by Corps of Engineers or supervised by Corps of Engineers. So it is like that is what is enhancing the mobility and sort of denying mobility to the enemy, like roadblocks, etc. Similarly, when I talk about sustainability, any war effort will require water. You will require some habitat. So it will also require some bunkers. All these things form under sustainability aspects. So basically, in a layman's language, it is mobility aspect and sustainability aspect of the armed forces is looked after by Corps of Engineers. Even in peacetime, this is valid. In fact, the military engineer organization, MES, Military Engineer Services, are majorly supported by Corps of Engineers. And they actually maintain all our assets of all the armed forces, whether it is the Army, Navy, or Air Force. Similarly, the border roads. The border roads are also majorly supported by engineer personnel, whether it's officers or the Jawans. They do have a force called GREF, which is also there. But officers from Jawans from Corps of Engineers are also supporting this effort. So as I can tell you that right now, when you talk of the border areas, the border roads, the habitat at the border, the electric supply, the water supply, etc., is being done by Corps of Engineers.
Now, sir, this is all uniformed personnel, right?
Yes.
Everybody is uniformed personnel.
Yes. They're proper soldiers. You have a dual role. You need to fight and you need to do your trade work. So that is also another specialty of Corps of Engineers. Like each sapper, actually a recruit when he gets trained is called a sapper, which is a French word. Sapping means making of a trench which goes nearer to the fortification. That's a French word. That's why they are called sappers. And it's a sort of, most of the armies use this word. It's a French word. So the sapper, when he becomes a sapper, by that time he is trained in what we call as field engineering or combat engineering. And he is also given a trade. Like he will be a mason or a electrician or a surveyor or a welder or a fitter. Like there are several 20 to 30 trades are there. So the engineer regiment is composed of such tradesmen. So it is a fighting force which can create, which can destroy,
along with
which
fighting.
can sustain,
Okay.
and also fight. So it's a very multi-utility force.
When you say fight, that means fighting as opposed to, as akin to, or as similar to what infantry does.
Yes, because we are supposed to hold ground during defending operations, similar to infantry.
That means
While you are attacking, as it is, you are doing your own job of doing supporting the infantry or the armor. But at the same time, you are carrying your weapon. You are supposed to fight. So you are given the same amount of weapon training as any other Jawan.
okay, that's like additional.
It's additional. See, that's what it is. Engineers is a force which is multi-utility. Like you can the composition of the engineer regiment. You have, if properly used by the commanders at higher levels, can create wonders on battlefield. So you can imagine, like you can create anything and destroy anything.
Correct, sir.
So that is the fundamental aspect
And
of
the
Corps
numbers
of
are very
Engineers.
less as compared
Yeah,
to.
see, it has been felt that maybe about 10,000 troops worth of fighting force may require about 1,000 such engineer effort.
Okay.
So I mean that is a broad figure. Maybe it will slightly less, 700-800 also. So that is how the broad figures go.
Still broadly 1:11, 1:12, or 1:10.
Yeah, that is the ideal figure, but most of the time you may not find that much also.
MP is an issue.
Yeah.
So, sir, I think Madras Sappers established in 1780, what we see here in Bangalore.
Yeah.
So that old.
Actually,
200 plus.
Yeah. So,
years.
post Robert Clive coming down from Calcutta towards the Carnatic, they formed two companies. They initially called them pioneer companies,
Mhm.
B and C companies, something like that.
Mhm.
So these companies were formed in Madras.
Mhm.
So that is the time when Madras fort and all was being created. So then they fought several wars, like including the Srirangapatnam wars.
Mhm.
And most of the wars are within southern India and SAE, etc., are fought by these troops. So these companies were raised and disbanded at several times, but BEC and several other companies were there. They formed the initial Madras Sappers. Earlier they were called Sappers and Miners. Then they were called Queen Victoria's own Madras Sappers and Miners. And finally Corps of Engineers. It's a long history. So they were involved in almost all the wars fought by Britishers. Not only in India, even in far off areas like Africa, Afghanistan, China, Egypt, and even the East. So all the wars. Like in fact, they must have fought about 60 wars as part of British army. So that much battle hardened they were the Madras Sappers were.
Okay, so that's very interesting. So now, why three Sappers? Madras, Bengal, and Bombay, right? So
This is related to the Madras, the three presidencies of the erstwhile British Empire, East India Company,
Mhm.
Madras Presidency, Bombay Presidency, and Bengal Presidency. We have same Sappers. The headquarters of Bengal is presently in Roorkee,
Mhm.
and for Bombay Sappers it is Kargil, Pune, and Madras Sappers are in Bangalore since 1834 or something.
Yeah, they say 1780, although the establishment time.
Establishment, but that was established in Chennai, in present day Chennai.
Mhm.
But then
That's
after
when-
the Srirangapatnam war, they stayed there for some time, the forces of the British Army.
Mhm.
And then they moved to Bangalore majorly. So, in fact, the Madras Sappers used to do signaling also. The Corps of Signals till 19 was formed in 1911. Till that time, signaling was also done by sappers only. Similarly, in the establishment Air Force in 1930s, the troops of Madras Sappers were initially given to the Air Force. That was I read somewhere. So this was and even the initial railways, many other constructions within Bangalore and South India, many river taming works like the Dhavaleshwaram in Andhra Pradesh on River Godavari, which was done by Sir Arthur Cotton, who was himself a Madras Sapper officer. So all these people, they were great engineers actually. And these great engineers helped construction of various assets for British East India Company to facilitate their own purpose.
So, sir, like you mentioned, three sappers, right? So I have heard there is something which is called as para engineers also, and like I see that a portion of the audience who are watching this, the youngster or the Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they are very fascinated with parachute regiment and para special forces and all that. So what exactly is para engineers, sir? I think they are formed.
Yeah, see, as I'll explain you very simply. Any fighting force will need an engineer element with them. If there is a para brigade, they will require a para field company of engineers. So that is how the scaling is. For a brigade, there will be a field company. For a division, there will be one engineer regiment. So, like that, if there is a para brigade in the Indian Army, for sure there will be a para engineer field company. Okay, if there is any other force of that strength, you will have a matching element of engineers. Also, let us say there is assault formation. There is a to that formation will be given a matching assault engineer element, which will have similar matching mobility with along with it. They will be on wheels. They will be on tanks like that.
So that means para engineers, they know their trade, their arm,
Yes.
demolition, sustainability, mobility, making bridges. The officers and Jawans, the ORs, NCOs, JCOs, and the officers, they know their initial trade work. That's exactly what they have to do.
Yes.
But they would still be trained into the para part of
Exactly.
it. They would be also undergoing the
They
probation.
will have to earn their para
wings
para
and maroon beret.
Yeah, yes, they will have to wear a maroon beret. They will be thoroughly trained in that. In addition to that, they will be doing these engineering duties also.
I'm an electrical engineer. Agla jaram sir para engineers ke naam.
Yeah, certainly. It will be wonderful, wonderful activities.
So,
But they are very few. They are very few, but very coveted place to be in.
Yeah. Few the finest and the best. So, sir, could you please throw some light on the famous constructions? Like you said, they were a part of the railways, right? So we had initial railway tracks also built by.
See what Britishers did. They needed a trained force, right? So the pioneers and subsequently miners and sappers and miners. So these people were very handy force for them. And they were disciplined, and at the same time they were always, actually there is a post the Britishers coming to South India. The earlier warring Rajas and all were not holding that much of forces. So there was so much of talent available. They recruited all this talent. And these are the people who were put into construction activities to facilitate their own agenda. Whether it is Nilgiri Railways, it was done by Sappers only. So similarly, several constructions of forts and several buildings. Even in Bangalore, there are many which are even today existing. For example, the Sankey tank, which was actually built by one Colonel Sankey, who, when a famine came in 1880s or some such time. Similarly, he was the one who designed our Mayo Hall. Even the design of the present High Court building is done by him only. The construction was done by somewhere else. But I can very clearly say that most of the Bangalore construction had Madras Sapper or engineer support by the Madras Sappers.
I think, sir, they used to have this, the present day MG Road and the Cubbon Road. They all formed a part of the cant.
Yeah.
So they had huge gates, entry gates and exit gates. Because they formed a part of the cant. So those huge gates also were the engineering effort ki haan, ye cant ke andar ye road hai, MG road. So I don't know.
If you see carefully, there are several buildings existing even today, which were constructed between 1830 to 1895. Like even in our own Madras campus, there are several buildings which are existing and they are intact and immaculately maintained even today. If you go deeply into various places like Coxtown and Cookstown and all these Fraser Town, etc., there are several such buildings which are still existing. Or MG Road. So there are there.
So when you talk about forts, let's say it would be imperative to mention the Sapper effort which has gone into building the Fort Williams.
Yeah.
Because the then Governor General of India, a person ruling India, used to sit there inside Fort Williams.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can say that similarly after the mutiny also in or what we call as War of Independence or 1857, several constructions were done by Britishers there, and the Sappers effort was there at that time also. Actually, the Sappers have become so important. By the end of World War II, they had more than 1 lakh personnel together with Madras, Bengal and Bombay together. They had more than 1 lakh Sappers.
Do you guys have territorial army battalions?
Yes. See, this is another aspect. Like, we are majorly into nation building. As I talked earlier, it is about, the border roads, whether the military engineering services and the Corps of Engineers. All together are forces which can create assets, maintain assets. So, there is a railway TA also. For example, railway is a very critical asset. The thought process is, if something happens, some strike or some such activity happens, some skeletal force will have to man it. That skeletal force is actually recruited from the railways only. Railway employees are given a chance to get themselves recruited and trained as railway TA employees. And there are a few units strategically located so that they can take over the railway activities or railway functioning activities in times of need. Similarly, there is a ONGC TA also. ONGC TA is for the oil field assets.
Yeah, I came across them.
Yeah. So they are very strategic. Actually, there is presently NDRF is also there. that, national disaster management. Earlier, before its establishment, any natural disaster, it is the only Corps of Engineers who used to go.
Which we see today also.
We see today also. But to some extent, NDRF has lessened that requirement. But the Wayanad, recently that landslide in Wayanad, the bridging effort and rest of the efforts were done by Corps of Engineers only. So the bridge construction and restoration of communications and all are done. Similarly, everywhere, like even in the recently, there was a tunnel which is being made and a few people got trapped about a year back. So there also Corps of Engineers contribution was there to retrieve them, to take them back. So like that, we are similarly, whenever there is a floods and all, each and every regiment will have its area of responsibility to go and do flood relief operations. Throughout, it's actually in Corps of Engineers, I was telling you earlier, we are regimented. We move from place A to place B as regiments, lock, stock and barrel. So let us say presently I am in my regiment is in say Secunderabad. In Secunderabad, that regiment will have a particular very clear-cut role. If there are floods, generally floods come to low-lying areas only. You will go to that place with so-and-so equipment. That equipment will be ready. And whenever there are floods, they are immediately moved into supporting that particular area. So like that, there is one regiment in say Allahabad or Prayagraj. So you will have a similar thing happening. So somewhere in the east, you will have regiments which are equipped to immediately go and provide help to the civilian all around.
Civil administration.
Basically, it is all called aid to civil authorities. The aid will have to be requisitioned by the civilian authority, then they will move. On their own, army will not move because it is not in their jurisdiction to move. So generally, but there are standard procedures during that. So I myself was involved in 2-3 such activities in my career.
We'll come to that the later part. But sir, engineers. So I believe General Manoj Pandey is an engineer officer.
Yes, we're very proud of him. General Manoj Pandey is the first Sapper officer who became the Chief of Army Staff.
Which Sapper is he, sir?
He is from Bombay Sappers.
Bombay Sappers. First. So otherwise, sir, what is this Engineer-in-Chief? Held by whom, the position?
See, Engineer-in-Chief is the head of Corps of Engineers.
Is he the colonel of the regiment?
No, not actually. I'll talk about it later. But he is the one who oversees all the 3 Sappers. In addition to that, he is also head of military engineering services. So he has several roles. He has a works role and a combat role. And right now it is Lieutenant General Arvind Walia. So So your question of this colonel of the regiments, all the 3 Sappers have their own, they select their own, select their own, colonel of the regiment.
Is it as per the seniority?
Not entirely. There's an election type.
Elect. Okay.
Yeah. Basically, there is a ballot type of thing.
Okay.
And then the senior most is called Senior Colonel Commandant.
Okay.
Many times it is the INC.
Okay.
That's how it is. And the Border Roads organization is headed by a Sapper officer, which is Lieutenant General rank.
Okay.
So that
he is also the engineering advisor to the chief.
The ENC is the engineer advisor to chief.
Okay.
Like at every level, you'll like for example, CO of a regiment, commanding officer of a regiment, in an infantry div is advisor to the div commander, the major general. So like that, the scaling is there.
But like you said, sir, that a division is supported by one engineer regiment. So a division is headed by a general.
Yes, major general.
And you have an engineer officer. The CO is a lieutenant colonel. Probably.
No, he's a colonel.
Full colonel. And so you see
where
I'm getting
actually,
at.
The thing
maturity.
Index. It is basically the scaling is, as I was telling you earlier, is for providing the engineer support. So the CO of the regiment should know complete div area of responsibility, and his field companies, the 3 field companies of the engineer regiment, which are scaled with the tradesmen which I talked earlier. These people are sort of assigned to each brigade. They will be generally, let us say in an ideal example, 3 brigades are there. Each field company is allotted to each brigade. So the defenses and offensive operations, or whatever be the tasking, the engineer effort planning is done by the field company commander for the brigade. At a higher level, the CO distributes the resources. Each one makes their plan. Depending upon the resources, they are allotted, they are trained, they are sort of rehearsed and exercised.
What
All
is the
these things
strength of
happen.
field company?
Field company is about 140, 150.
Headed by a captain or a major?
No, he's a major.
Major.
Field
That
company is done
major
by a major.
is advisor to a brigadier.
He's advisor to a brigadier.
So let's look at the maturity of an engineer.
The
officer.
maturity level of a sapper officer is
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal, and that the tasking is a soldier also, he is an engineer also, and he has the responsibility almost in the area of responsibility is almost equal to that of a brigadier's responsibility. And when you come down to a infantry battalion, it will be a platoon strength or slightly less because the effort gets filtered out, and maybe sometimes we have 2-3 sections of sappers supporting one infantry battalion. So CO, most probably CO is a colonel of infantry, may have to deal with a lieutenant or a captain from sappers, or sometimes even a JCO.
Oh wow,
that's how
it happens. So again, basically, sir, the kind of material, the equipment, the sourcing, the procurement, sir. So the material for bridges, where is it manufactured, sir?
It is done by GRSC, most of the
Carpentry
equipment, and then also other people are also there. There are several bridges. Like most popular is Bailey Bridge. Everybody knows, and it's a very dismantleable bridge, very easy to use, but it's very heavy equipment. So in addition to that, there is something called medium girder bridge. There are dry bridges, and there are 2 types. Actually, there are 3 types. One is improvised bridges, like your flying foxes and all such things. Then you have equipment-based dry bridges. Then there is something called wet bridges. So dry bridges are like your Bailey Bridge, which are not floating on water type. And you have suspension bridges. Bailey suspension bridge. So similarly for floating bridges, you have something called Krupman Bridge, which is in floatable bridge. Then pontoon bridges. Then there are.
Is that for the movement of tanks and BMPs?
Yes.
To the water?
So generally, all bridges are designed to take the heaviest equipment. Are planned according to the heaviest equipment it's supposed to take.
Okay.
So the pontoon bridges are typically held on wheels. And again, it is the pontoon bridges are supported are with a supporting unit which supports the assault sort of formation.
Yeah, obviously. So the scaling of the equipment will be as per the different formations.
Exactly.
And that's how
the formation. They are held in engineer parks sometimes. Some of them will be the engineer units. And actually, within an engineer regiment, there is something called a field park company. There are 3 field companies and 1 field park company. This field park company is the one which holds all the equipment in addition to mechanical equipment like dozers, motor graders, which are required for making roads and all, and generators for electricity, water supply equipment, and water supply tanks, and all such things are held in stock.
Now, sir, coming to the very classic question, we all have heard about this Bangalore torpedo.
Yeah.
Torpedo? Bangalore torpedo. What is Bangalore torpedo?
See, in during World War I, people have made this fortification, trench warfare became very important that time. And any defended locality of any troops, they were having several wire obstacles in front, so that the advancing enemy will be will have to stop, or will have to be some attrition of his strength will happen while negotiating those obstacles. So what was happening was many people were getting killed and entangled in those fire obstacles. So the requirement was something which an equipment which can clear that particular wire obstacle was required. Experiments were done in Madras Engineering Group and present day Madras Engineering Group and Center, that is in Bangalore. And one Sapper officer is a foreigner. He came up with this idea of Bangalore torpedo. It is a piped bomb, dismantleable, easy to carry, whether it is on backpack or mule pack or horseback or anything, and easily assembled, and it can be easily detonated. So it became very handy for people. So this Bangalore torpedo was put in use in major all the wars of World War One and Two,
including the Normandy landing and Omaha Beach
yes,
and all
yes.
that. Yeah.
So you can hear in that movie also that bring the Bangalore type.
Bring the Bangalore.
Bring in the Bangalore. So its versatility is valid even today because it is very practical equipment. So that is about the Bangalore torpedo.
Sir, I believe we have one George Cross,
Yes.
who is a sapper. Yeah.
See, before that, I must talk about my own regiment. I am from 6th Engineer Regiment, which has 10 field company, 63 field company, and 4 to 8 field company, and 11 field park company. Why I am talking about this is this 11 field park company was originally called C Company or the Madras Sappers or Pioneers. Subedar Subramanian was part of that C Company. So my regiment has the right on him. So Subedar Subramanian was actually operating in Italy at that time during that war, and they were breaching a minefield. His party. There was some Britishers also along with him, and our own Sappers, Madras Sapper party was also working. So when I was talking about these mines and all, there are several types of anti-personnel mines. There is something called a jumping mine is also there, which gets activated is a tripwire. When the tripwire is cut inadvertently or by purpose, the mine jumps out and then explodes, giving a lot of fragments and injuring people in a approximately 30-40 meter radius. A very deadly weapon. So he saw that tripwire getting activated, and his party was very near to that, where the jumping mine was. Without regard to his own personal safety and all, this great soldier, he put his body on top of that jumping mine, and he took the impact, and obviously he was martyred. So this impromptu act of bravery and then selflessness was appreciated and by the British people then, and he was awarded the only George Cross presented during that war. So he is such a famous personality, and he is remembered every day, even today, by the Madras Sappers. Our Jesus Mess is named after him.
So, sir, now that we came to mines, initially we briefly discussed about the bridges. Could you throw some light, different types of mines and...
Yeah, mine warfare is a very big subject of Sappers, and the philosophy of mine warfare. It is ever evolving actually. So there are basically anti-personnel mines and anti-tank mines. Now remotely delivered mines are also there, which can fall into any category. So
the only understanding of mines which maybe the audience has is
So anti-personnel mines are small, about they'll have about 50 odd grams of explosive. They are designed in such a way that there is a diaphragm, and somebody steps on it, that gets initiated and detonated, and injuring the person. Mostly it will incapacitate the person. Sometimes it may kill also. Sometimes it may incapacitate. What I was talking, jumping mine is still valid. It is still in force. This jumping mine is it will have some tripwires. The tripwire get activated. It is actually, all of them are improvised explosive devices to some extent. So when it jumps out and then explodes, it's like a grenade, but a grenade bursting in the air, much bigger than a grenade. So you can imagine the impact of it. So these mines are laid in front of defended localities. So let us say we are attacking our enemy. So you have a position, and then he will put a barbed wire obstacle in front. Then there will be a minefield which can be a kilometer depth. So while walking through that, you will, if you are not prepared, if you have not breached it, you will find casualties happening next to you. So it is a very demoralizing thing for a party which goes in. And by the time you travel through that, rush through that 800 meters or kilometer of the minefield, a lot of attrition may happen. So there are several ways of neutralizing or breaching these minefields also. Like we have something like charged line mine clearing equipment. There will be a line, like the Bangalore torpedo is a inflexible thing. There is a flexible sort of a pipe in which explosive is there. It is taken by a rocket to the other side, and once it touches the ground, it explodes. So they're clearing a path of about a meter or so of area without mines, or the mines which are there get activated.
So that's why the engineers go in first and
Yeah,
then the
we'll
infantry
have to go in
marches.
first. That's sort of a concept.
Yeah.
So
What about anti-tank mines, sir?
anti-tank mines are huge. They are designed to incapacitate
Tanks.
tanks.
BMPs.
Like anything which goes on top which is heavy, it gets triggered.
Yeah, I think the only anti-tank mine that I have seen is probably the movie Border. Yeah.
So these mines are, the principle is the same. Diaphragm based, and the explosive will be there, detonation will happen, and incapacitation of that particular equipment will be there. Laying of mines is an engineer task. And engineers train infantry and other arms in laying mines in their own, in front of their own defended locality. All these gaps, because as I was saying, our resources are less. All the gaps are filled by engineer effort, laying the mines. As well, the design of a minefield during a defensive operation is a very important subject.
So, sir, you said you got commissioned in 87.
Yes.
That was IMA 1 year?
No, I was commissioned in 1988.
And 88.
The seniority of 86. Because I was a technical graduate, I was given 2 years antedate
seniority.
But I joined IMA in 87.
Yeah, the UES part, no? And again, you came in with masters and all.
Yeah,
guys, you need to understand UES, Lakpati entry, extra money.
So those days it was different, but I lost that 1.5 year of service because I came in slightly at an elderly age. Because some of my course mates were only 20 years. I was at 23 and a half when I got commissioned.
Yeah, I got commissioned when I was 21. Sir.
Yeah.
So, that's the general thing. I mean, the earliest that's what you can do, post the engineering. So, sir, then after IMA, you guys go to, I think, CME?
Actually, we come to our centers those days. Even now it's practice.
So, did you know that you were going to get into 6 engineers in IMA itself?
No.
So
we only know that we are going to Madras Sappers.
That is after the allotment of branches and all happens in IMA.
In our case, we technical graduates, no.
You knew already either it's CME engineers or signals, but you knew engineers.
We knew engineers.
Okay.
Because I was a civil engineer, no. So civil engineers and some few mechanical engineers and few electrical engineers come to Corps of Engineers. Majority of mechanical and electrical go Corps of EME. Similarly, electronics and communication engineers or electrical engineers go to Corps of Signals. That's how it was.
Yeah.
So we knew that we are coming to Madras Sappers. At least that much is clear. Once we come here, by that time we also know that we are going to so and so regiment. See, these days communication is fast. Those days it was slightly laggard.
So you came to...
I came to center. There was familiarization for about a month, wherein we were told we were actually familiar with the training the recruit goes through, because it's very important for the officer to know how the Jawan is being trained and how confident recruit becomes when he becomes a sapper. And then when he goes to the unit, they will be able to train them further.
That's part and parcel of leadership, right? So you are asking someone to do something, you should know what is how it should be. I remember cleaning shit pots as a part of my training on the ship.
These are important points.
Yeah.
Actually, Sappers training, especially mines and all are dangerous. Even our bridging on rivers and rafting, watermanship training, all these things are not all that easy. And you need time to gain expertise. So to that extent, we then go to our CME for a VIVOS course. There the officers are thoroughly trained on all these aspects I was talking of. There is bridging, mine warfare, bridging, and then you have other aspects, NBC warfare, all these. For complete field engineering, you are doing like bridge launching, mine laying at night most of the time. So all these things are done by the officers thoroughly, and then they are...
So mine assembly and disassembly is blackfold?
Yes. Actually, I was here in CIF, what we call as Chief Instructor Field Engineering. Now it is called Combat Engineering in MEG and Center. So all the recruits, what I used to do, I used to blindfold them, because they were to do at night. And there is a drill. See, there is in Sappers, drill is very important. That's why we are very good at even normal military drill also. Even anything, there is a drill for each and every activity. For mine laying, there is a drill. You will have to, how to hold a mine, what is there in your right hand, what will be there in your satchel, what is your first action, second action, third action, what is the final action. Everything is drilled. And they are drilled in such a way that they can do these things blindfold, so that they can do such activities in night. Most of our engineer activities are done at night, whether it is bridging, or it is mine laying, or it is roadblock construction, or any such thing is done at night.
Obviously.
For surprise element.
Yeah, obviously.
So all our troops are trained for night training.
So, sir, after CMP, the first appointment?
The CME, I did my course, VIVOS. Then I went to my regiment as a platoon commander. You go as platoon commander.
This was in which area, sir?
This was in the Eastern Command.
East.
And you can say about Sikkim.
Sikkim.
General area Sikkim.
Okay.
So we were commanding, our unit was supporting a big formation. Our area of responsibility was quite a bit. So I went around familiarizing myself with that. And there were several other engineering tasks which we were doing. Op works construction, like habitat construction, etc. And bridging also was there those days.
Okay. And then, sir, after that?
So then I was there for about a year. Then our regiment actually moved out of that location to Punjab. So I was telling, we are regimented and our regiments move, lock, stock and barrel, along with war equipment. So we move in trains.
That's huge supply chain.
Yeah.
Because you have equipment which is other than the infantry.
Yes. Yeah. So, but then it is a must, because we need to be trained in all terrains. Actually, our works are terrain sensitive. Engineer works are terrain sensitive. So it will be different in desert. It will be different in a riverine terrain. It will be different in mountainous terrain.
Special trains, special loading equipment.
So the war equipment of the unit will be there, but the equipment which is required for that terrain will be held in the engineer parks of that area. So what I am trying to say is that our work is terrain sensitive. The scaling and the activities are also terrain sensitive. Our training is also terrain sensitive. So that's why our regiments are moved, so that they can undertake any task at any point in time. Like let us say in 10-15 years of service, an officer will move to 4 or 5 places of various types. So by the time you are 15 years old, you're 15 years of service, you know the desert, you know the mountains, you know the rivers.
You know plains.
You know the plains. This is our engineer task. All the engineer tasks you are aware. That's why again that maturity level increases.
So anything highlights, sir, in Punjab?
See, that was the time of peak terrorism. So we constructed a lot of habitat for our own troops and several assets on the border. Because I was with the field company as a 2IC and sometimes officiating. So my area of responsibility was a brigade area of responsibility. So from Dera Baba Nanak to Ajinala, I was roaming around a lot. And a lot of learning and being with the troops. And
this was in which year, sir?
That was in 1989-90.
90. After that, sir?
After that, in between, I did a course of advanced, combat engineering. What we called, that's in CME only. And since I was a distinction, my VIVOS and MTech, I was posted as instructor in CME.
So you back to alma mater?
Yes. So I came back somewhere in late 1990.
Okay.
So I was there for about 3 years. I was actually, I was posted as instructor, but I was mostly doing general staff officer duties, or general staff officer grade 3 and general staff officer grade 2. That is where I was lucky that I had served with General Manoj Pandey also.
Okay.
So he was general staff officer grade 2 that time, looking after training. I was almost next to him.
Okay.
So it was wonderful. Wonderful people and great. I was there for 3 years. So
too much of patience, persistence, and perseverance in an engineer officer. Very patient. बहुत ज़्यादा patience है.
Yes.
Too much of patience.
It's the maturity level, no? I was talking about. you actually, you are working with military establishments, and in some appointments, like in border roads and MES, you will have to work with civil
Civilians
counterparts.
also. And IDS?
IDSC, even
IDC.
civilian counterparts. Your interface with civilians will be there in several appointments. And you cannot be the same straight army personnel with them. You'll have to understand them. You'll have to speak in the language they understand. In addition to that, you'll have to be careful because you are doing several contract management, equipment management, and complete barrack stores management. All these things are done by Sapper officers.
Playing with money.
Lot of, like, the garrison engineer is a very important person.
Yeah,
He's a major sir.
Yeah.
So 6 to 10 years of service, you are have the check signing authority, and you have a complete cantonment which is dependent on your activities.
So my when I was here in 12 SSB, my GE was a SM gallantry. He had served in RR. So needless to say that engineer officer also go on deputation to AR, RR. So somebody wants to opt for an NSG, goes to NSG, serves, does his time, come back.
Yes.
And wears all those fancy badges on the uniform that I have done. So, sir, Bayan, if I were to just count major appointments after this, where were you in Kargil, sir?
So yeah, I'll come back to that, because after that tenure in the CME, I was posted back to my unit in 95. So I was there. My unit was in Udhampur then. It was in between, moved to Leh. From Leh, it came down to Udhampur. Our area of responsibility was mostly in the valley. So I did a lot of operational works and habitat construction for Rashtriya Rifles. That was the formative years of Rashtriya Rifles. 2RR, and even Anantnag, initial groundbreaking of that particular formation where they are presently located was done by my unit only. In fact, I was involved in that. So, and several small activities for the sub area, the command, because we are supporting a command. We are command, co-located with command. So a lot of sundry works and several construction. No, talking about Udhampur.
Udhampur is Northern Command.
So, like, some construction activity in Katra for the welfare of Javans. All these things were done by me. I was fortunate to get a lot of work that time. From there, our regiment moved to Eastern Command.
Calcutta?
No, not Calcutta. Somewhere, beyond Siriguti.
Okay.
So I took the advance party from there and went to Binagudi. And then, I gave out the name Binagudi. So we were located there, and it is a sort of mountainous formation. It was actually, we are operating in mountains. That was a different experience. So I was there for about a year. Then I got posted. My regiment continued to be there. I got posted out to MEG and Center, that is Bangalore, as an instructor. So I came here 97 to 2000. I was here. Within that time, I was actually most of the time doing assistant instructor field engineering and chief instructor grade 2 field engineering. I was training all the Javans and JSOs and officers of our Madras Sappers during that duration of good 3 years. So about 10,000 people must have trained in various field engineering activities. So in between, I got opportunity to de-launch a bridge in Goa as aid to civil authority. It was very well appreciated. I got a lot of accolades for it. It's a very innovative task. And then one de-launching of a bridge in near Sabarimala. Similar to what recently, the Wayanad Floods side of thing. So such happenings were also there. So it was very satisfying that I was involved in training of Madras Sappers. From here, I was again, when I completed 3 years or some such time, I was again, my time has come, and my regiment was still in the same location where I left. So I was given some other regiment, 2 engineer regiment. So that was a Kargil regiment, very illustrious regiment. It was coming back from Kargil, and I joined them in Secunderabad. So I was there for about a year. So most of the time we were operating in Rajasthan for bridging training camp. Actually, we do training camps once in a year. We go to riverine terrain or nalas or such activity. We do We do lay our tracks, roads, and bridges, and we thoroughly train for 2 months and come back. So most of the time I was there, and then after some time I was sidestepped at DCWE, that is Deputy Commander Works Engineers in Secunderabad. So I was looking after buildings and roads and water supply of Secunderabad cantonment and Golconda also. So there I was there till 2002 end. Meanwhile, I picked up my rank of Lieutenant Colonel and went as 2IC of my regiment.
6 engineers.
6 engineer.
Again back to own
Yeah,
unit.
back to regiment.
Apna ilaka.
Yeah, but what happened, by the time I reached the regiment, it's moved towards Valley has come. So I took the advance party of the regiment and moved to Valley. So I was there in the valley for Kashmir Valley for about 2 years plus. During that time, it was peak of terrorism. LC fencing was being contemplated, and we were majorly involved in construction of LC fencing in our DIV operation area of responsibility. So,
That's huge. You already said that
Yes,
one.
yes.
That's
Yes.
huge. Okay.
So that's huge. In addition to that, one interesting thing happened during that time was the opening up of Uri Muzaffarabad Road, wherein that Aman Setu, you must have heard, was constructed. So I was involved in its planning. Got all the equipment from all over the country, and there was a minefield while leading to the bridge. We had to clear a minefield which was laid by us to deny that access to the enemy. So that minefield, because my troops were there, and most of them are my trainees. So I did that demining work, some of it, and then let each and everyone handle those mines.
These are what, sir?
These are they are actually anti-tank mines.
Anti-tank mines.
Because it was on a road, no? I was used as a roadblock.
Yeah. I saw the picture, you taking out the mines with your own hand.
Yeah. But it was because I had to. It's like I had that training mindset, so I used to take each and every activity as a training only. So that helps the regiment. So similarly, we constructed a couple of Bailey bridges when the flash floods were there in the valley. So like that, the tenure was there, and I then by 2005 I got promoted to my next rank of colonel. Since my regiment was already not available, another officer was already commanding. So I was given an opportunity to go to Bhopal as Commander Works Engineers. That is a MES. This is my second exposure to MES. As Commander Works Engineers at Bhopal, I was looking after Bhopal cantonment, including Bairagat, Sagar cantonment, where a very huge formation was there, and another place called Dhana and Pachmadi.
Is this the time you worked with Selection Center Central? SEC?
Yes.
Bhopal.
So again, when I went there, the key location, the main building or the present day SSB, it was got sanctioned and the construction started in front of my eyes.
And you appeared for SSB where?
Bhopal.
Bhopal.
So I went back to Bhopal and
Full
saw
circle.
its construction, oversee. So that's how. And there's a very huge area, and more than you can say that Sagar cantonment itself has several units. Dhana was another cantonment. There are a lot of issues of water supply. One river changed its course, which was the main source of water for us. So we had to sort of bridge that gap and then recreate. So I ended up making a new dam. That's an interesting job, and it was done in just 4 months. Because by the time next summer comes, we need water. So that's how it was done. So a lot of experiences as Commander Works Engineers, in addition to maintaining and improving the quality of life of, in Bhopal and Sagar. And the important thing is that core headquarter building in Bhopal was started. The construction started during my time. It was on a hill. The road to the hill was a big challenge. So we did a lot of work there. Interesting stuff.
After CWE, sir?
So after CWE, I got an opportunity to work in Army Welfare Housing Organization in Delhi. So there is a place called, in Greater Noida, there is a place called Gurjinder Vihar. It's a 96-acre project, 3,000 flats, 14-story buildings. So I was given a part of, one portion of it, I was project director for about 3 years. During that time, because there were a lot of pile foundations were done. The structures got constructed. Several of them got, the earlier construction I was handing over also. It's a very challenging job because there were, it's always very challenging to do some construction handover. No? Because the costing, the quality aspirations of the people, and being the L1 bidders are always at cost cutting the contractors. Very challenging job. I was also looking after the designs of various other AWHO projects because I was co-located. The AWHO used to give them to peer review those designs. I made some contribution, including that was that of Sandeep Vihar.
Here in Bangalore?
In Bangalore.
AWHO.
I peer reviewed the design, made some changes.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, Lucknow project, Mohali project, etc.
Okay, so this was...
That was actually, again, I came back to my structural engineering job partially while doing other things. So that ended in 2010. In 2010, again, I was posted to another organization called CCE Projects, Chief Construction Engineer Projects. So this is an organization which constructs strategic assets. So I had an opportunity to be incognito for about 3 years.
The word says it all.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate to have sort of found a place for a big strategic asset, designed it, and layout was finalized, contract was finalized, and its construction started. Then by the time it was 3 years, so I got posted out again. So it was a very strategic project, and I had interacted with very important people.
When did you hang boots, sir?
That was in 2016 end.
And where were you that time?
Yeah, after that tenure of 3 years, that CC project, that was by the end 2014. Then I was sent as additional chief engineer, Bamroli, that is Allahabad, in Air Force. So I was looking after the airfields. So from tunnels, such things, I went to airfields. Initially, it was buildings, tunnels, airfields.
Bridges, mines, buildings, tunnels.
That is the previous. Then multi-story buildings. Then you have these tunnels plus your airfields. I was there for 2 years. Then I was due for retirement in 2016 end. I had about 2 years. So I requested a posting in Bangalore, but they gave me Secunderabad, again in AWHO. So I was working on a project which was to come up. But in the meantime, there were some issues in Bangalore project. They asked me to look after this also. So towards the end of my career, almost 8-9 months, I was mostly located in Bangalore and got the completion certificate for Sandeep Vihar, got the lifts and all done. Water supply, Kaveri water supply came. And Sandeep Unnikrishnan's parents came for that inauguration of water supply. So all that activity, and I hung my boots on 31st December 2016.
So, sir, now you spent, you said 1988.
So I spent 29 years and 4 months.
29 years, right? So 29 years, 4 months. And
non-stop, I have not gone for any course or any such long course or anything. It's non-stop working.
You already were an MTech from IIT. What else do you want?
I mean, that's how it is.
So, sir, one question, last question before we wind this up. I want to understand one thing. You must have trained so many officers from engineers regiment. They were trained under, because you were instructor in CME also, you were instructor here in Madras Sappers also, the engineering group. And then you have seen some strategic projects also of our country. So today, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, if they look forward to join the armed forces, let's say, sir, about 40%, 45% of the people who get commissioned in the Indian Armed Forces are from NDA, 2 POPs. And the rest left over is the direct entry, of which I'd like to believe about 70%, 75% are engineers in any branch. So again, I mean, engineers joining the non-tech, engineers joining the tech branch.
Yes.
What is one thing or two things, or probably let's say 3 things that you would want to see in a newcomer, the Gen Z, Gen Alpha? The rate of selection varies between 1 to 4%. If I apply the concept, moving average, it would be somewhere close to about 0.6%.
Yes.
But it varies entry to entry 1 to 4%.
Yeah.
we have never lowered our standards. We will never lower our standards.
Yeah.
Since
I know,
your time.
SSB are doing great job in that.
Yeah.
So basically, the warfare as of now is evolving tremendously with the AI coming in, the drones coming in majorly. You see the activities, present activities. You can see the Israel-Hamas war itself. There is so much of technology in it. Similarly, Ukraine, Russia also. Future warfares will be mostly information warfares, and such warfares are remotely done type. But the importance of holding ground will be there. Like even Israel finally will have to go with troops towards that area where they are wanting to occupy Gaza and all. So, I mean, my point is, armed forces require more engineers or people with engineering bent of mind, technical bent of mind. That is a must. That our hierarchy also must understand. Not everyone can become a soldier and an engineer. You require soldiers and engineers. That's for sure. That's why I say that you need good engineers in the army. Secondly, the passion to learn new things is very important. The way technology is changing, otherwise you will be left behind in the race. And innovation, it's going to be more important in the times to come. I'm happy that some officer has made a Sten gun, which is being produced in India only, and I believe it's very good quality. I mean, this sort of innovation should have come long, long ago, but they are coming now, and that's very happy sign. So, discipline, of course, and commitment to serve this great country of ours. I always want, it is always in safe hands. In future also, it will be in safe hands. The patriotism, the nationalism, these are the most important traits I look for.
Thank you so much, sir, for spending this valuable time with us. I believe जनता को भी देख के समझ में आएगा exactly what is core of engineers. Stay tuned to my channel. I'm going to keep bringing specialists from different arms branches of all three services so that you guys exactly understand what exactly is armed forces comprised of. It is so many zillions of colors coming in together and making this one big organization, Indian Armed Forces. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rikin.